Well, good morning and welcome to the homestead, everyone. How are you? Sorry, it's been a while since we put something out, but as the title tells you, we have had a little bit of drama here on the homestead. Now, if you look right down here, let me back up a little so you can see right along our driveway. There was a bunch of very, very tall loblolly pines. And what they were doing was they were shading out our garden. You can see the sun is just coming over those trees, and you can see the garden is in the shade here first thing in the morning. But as soon as it gets over those trees, we needed it to be in full sun here in the garden. And it's been a problem for us every year in the spring and in the fall with these trees along our driveway shading out our garden, because can't really get anything to grow very well while that's going on. Now, in the brightest part of the summer, the sun is above the trees and we don't have that problem, but we needed to fix it for the spring and the fall. And I had always intended to have that done. And my neighbor next door, I saw him, he was out doing some stuff last year, and I approached him and said, you know, hey, I'm gonna be cutting these trees down, and if they fall on your property, I'll have them cleaned up. Unfortunately, he believed that the barbed wire fence, which runs along our property, I'll show it to you right here, guys, so you can see it. This barbed wire right there, you can see it. It runs down there. So that was put in decades ago. And if you know anything about farmers and ranchers, when they're putting up their barbed wire fence, they try and keep it relatively on whatever border they plan to paddock off. Now, these sections of trees along our road or paddocks are sectioned off in 5-acre paddocks. So I have 5 acres, my neighbor has 5 acres. My neighbor on that side has 2.5, and then there's another 2.5 on the side of him, and so on and so forth, all the way down the road on this side of our property. Well, when a farmer lays that out, his intentions are good, but at the end of the day, he runs that barbed wire whichever way is most convenient for him. And there are some T-posts drove in, but you can tell that mostly, I'll show you over here, the farmer or rancher, he just stapled it to the tree. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. Probably did that 25 years ago, long before he ever thought he would ever sell this property. So the barbed wire is not the actual boundary line, but my neighbor, he had believed that the wire was the boundary line. And when he bought his property, he bought 6 months to 8 months after we did. He had a 4-corner survey of his property done, and we knew that survey had gotten done. So if you guys have been with us a while, you know, for the first 2 years of owning this property, we came down from New England and worked the property, put our house foundation in, septic in, did a bunch of different work. Well, I knew where the boundary marker out by the road was. And the first trip back down, I went all the way to the back of our property to see if I could find the marker back there, because I wanted to have a relative idea of where the property line was. And as you can see, guys, my driveway, the barbed wire is it's right there. So my driveway runs right along the barbed wire, and I wanted to make sure that if the barbed wire was the boundary line, that I was still on my side of the boundary line. But once I found the front marker, which is, I'd say 10, maybe 12 feet to that side of the barbed wire, and I found the marker in the back, which is, it's not that far, guys. It's only like 3 inches on that side of the barbed wire. And looking at aerial photos, I realized that as this barbed wire came down, it creeped slowly onto our property. And I was pretty much completely convinced that the trees, and I'm going to go up here so you guys can get a perspective of what I'm talking about. So I'm at the top of our driveway, and I'm standing right here where the barbed wire comes right down like this. Okay, so I knew, and you can see the trees that we removed, this little section just right along my driveway, no farther in really. There's one that's about 4 feet in, but anyway, I knew that that was most likely on my property. I was 100% convinced. I was a Boy Scout. I can read a map, I can take coordinates and figure it out. So I marked the trees off. They'd been marked off for about a month and a half with ribbon, because we didn't cut the trees down. We had someone come in and cut the trees down for us. It was a utility that did it. They didn't really want to advertise it, so I'm not going to expand on it more than that. They did us a favor, and I appreciate it. And they got them cut down. And you can see, guys, they left a big chunk of the tree still standing because there's barbed wire in it, and they don't want to destroy their saws. And I told them that would be fine. I would come in and I would go beneath the wire and cut it myself and get it chopped down. So not a problem. So the time came, they came, you guys saw, I'll put a link to that video up there. They came and they did their job. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't here, and Missy told them, listen, we only own a little bit of this property, not a lot. So please try to drop the trees as straight down as you possibly can. And while I believe that they may have tried, that is not the case. That is not how it ended up happening. So that's unfortunate. I had every intention of getting over there and getting it completely cleaned up and brought back to my side of the boundary, because you want to do the right thing. You know, I don't want any problems with my neighbor. So I apologize for dropping trees, and I'll go in there and clean it all up. Well, it didn't quite work out that way, guys. My neighbor came home and saw that the trees were cut down. Was still convinced that they were on his property, and now felt that we were encroaching on his property and cutting his trees down, which, if I was in his shoes and I was in the right, I could see his point of view. But I tried to, explain to him, hey, no, those are on our property. Let's look at the boundary lines. But he was convinced, and fine, whatever. So he said, I'm going to get a survey. Don't do anything. Okay, that's okay. No problem. No problem at all. And that's what he did. He had a survey done, and they came out and they marked all the way down our boundary line to make sure. And I'll just show you that, guys, because there's one right there. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there's another one through the trees. That's the one out by the road. And if I go up here, you can maybe see this one in here, but it goes down like that. And this is one of the deepest trees. You can see the boundaries there. There's another boundary here. This tree is well on my side of the property. And that's fine, no problem. So they came, they did the survey, and as it turns out, all the trees are on my property. They were on my property when they were standing, but again, like this top here, this is over onto his property. Some of these limbs right here, they have fallen over onto his property. And some of these tops in here are definitely on his property. I don't dispute that. And I want to get in there and I want to get that all cleaned up, and restore his property back to before the trees came down. But there was a little bit more controversy. He was upset about the whole situation, and probably upset that he had just spent $500 on a survey, and it turned out that he was incorrect. So that, I'm sure, stung quite a bit. So he didn't want us to get in there and cut the trees and trim them up and drag them back until he made sure that the utility that cut them down was the ones that cut them down, because I guess Missy said he felt that we were trying to steal from him or lie to him or deceive him in some way, which was not the case. So he reached out to them, and eventually, after a little bit of confusion, they confirmed that they had dropped the trees, and they were the one to drop the trees. So, okay, no problem, but what do we do about this big mess? You know, we've got a big mess over there, and it needs to get cleaned up. And I had expressed that, you know, I'm still willing to go in there and get it all cleaned up. So I was on a run out to North Carolina, and I get a call from Missy, and she said that the neighbor had come over and confirmed that everything that we said was true. The trees were on our land when they were dropped. We didn't cut them down. We had someone cut them down for us. There was no malice intended. There was no issue really intended, although unfortunately things didn't work out exactly as we had all hoped. And offered an apology to Missy, and said that it's fine, we can go over here and clean up the mess, which I have every intention of doing. I would have done this, guys, 2 weeks ago. I went in there with my chainsaw to start limbing it all up and getting it dragged back, but it was put to a halt. But guys, I gotta tell you, let me swing around here. It is like April, I don't even know. It's like April 11th, April 12th. We're pretty much mid-April right now. And our garden still has a ton of work to do. And the plants don't care. They need to be in the ground as soon as possible. Missy has the plants ready in the greenhouse. There's a few of them that are still being hardened off. And we have soil You saw we did wood chips. I'll leave a link to that as well. We need to get in here, get this soil in place, get our row cover back on, and get this garden planted, because every single day that we wait to plant, especially the stuff that's going in from seed, like the okra, the cucumber, is a day longer until we're able to harvest and produce that fruit for market, which is the goal. If we were just doing this for ourselves to preserve at the end of the summer, it wouldn't be as big of a big deal, but we grow all this for market and then take the extra for ourselves. So it's imperative that we get this planted out. So it has to get done. I'd love to get in there and do this right away, but I can't do that, guys. I have to get this garden planted. And we have a bunch of animals coming. I'm gonna take a walk down here. We have 3 new species of animals coming to the homestead, and they're coming within the next, let me get you guys out of the sun. They're coming within the next 2 weeks. It is when they're supposed to be ready for pickup. And I'm not ready, guys. I'm not ready at all. We are getting fully grown, ready to lay egg layers. We're getting like 40 of them. And that's going to replace this flock. Now, we're not calling out this flock, but they're getting older and their production is going down. And as you know, eggs are a hard thing to come by right now. So having birds that'll give us 2-3 dozen eggs a day, if not more, is very beneficial to us from a market standpoint. So those birds are going to be coming probably within the next 2 weeks, as soon as we get the call. So they're going over in the cleared out area that we had cleared out. We took our platform from our gazebo and brought that over here, and we're gonna get that up and level, and that is gonna be the new coop. So that has to get built, because these ready lay birds, they're coming from an egg production facility, and they need to get those birds out so they can bring their new birds in. So it's not a situation where they can hold those birds for us. When it's time to get them, we have to come get them. And we don't have a place for them right now. So this has to get built. And then their outdoor run will sit right in this area. And that outdoor run, we bought a kit. It's the quickest, easiest way to get this project done. So that's what we're gonna do. And then right over here, guys, is where our pigs are gonna go. We have 3 pigs coming, and I have the material. You can see I've got my hog panels right here, and we have plenty of T-posts. And this is gonna be where they start in these hog panels. They're gonna go right out in this area right here, and they'll get trained to hot wire netting while they're in the hog panels, and then their shelter will stay in the hog panels and their food and water will stay in here. But as they get older, guys, we'll open one of these panels up and they will move into the rest of this cleared out area and into the woods a little bit back there, once they're all trained to the netting. So they're coming in 2 weeks. This project, to get them at least started, shouldn't take too long. So that's major project number 2. And then the third species that we're bringing in. We're getting bees, guys. We need pollinators here on the homestead. We've always wanted to have bees on the homestead and have actually taken classes about beekeeping. So bees are a huge thing for us. We want the honey, we want the pollinators, we want all the benefits of having bees. And the bees are gonna go right over here. So they'll get a little morning shade, but then they'll get sun the rest of the day. They're relatively close to the garden, and I think that's going to be the perfect place for them. They won't be too close to the chickens or the pigs. They won't be too close to our house, where we have to worry about guests getting stung. So this area right here, I still need to do a little clearing. It's not a lot of work, but a little bit of clearing over here. Take out the underbrush and get some hives in here and get ready for our bee nooks to come in. That is a pretty good explanation of why we haven't done much on the house, guys. I've been busy trying to get all of these projects done in a timely fashion. And I know you guys have asked about the house. We're getting back on the house, okay? Next weekend, I will be getting back on the house, and you will see a video shortly after that of doing housework. But all of these projects have to get done first. I have to get the garden up and going. I have to have shelters and pen areas for all of these animals, because when it's time for them to come, it's time for them to come. Now, I'm glad that for right now, it seems like this issue with the neighbor is in a treaty and less of a all-out war, because guys, it got pretty nasty. There were words exchanged. There was high volume conversation going on back and forth that was unfortunate, but it is what it is. But we are in a treaty ceasefire standpoint right now, which I'm super happy about. And as soon as I get these couple of projects done, I'm gonna get in there and get that all cleaned up. It shouldn't take too long, and I'll make sure to bring you guys all along for that. But yeah, a lot of drama, a lot of unnecessary drama, in my opinion. It could have been handled a lot differently, but you can't change the past. You can only move forward into the future, and that's what we're going to try and do. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.